Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Happy Friday. Sorry I look a little rough with no makeup, but I'm guessing you can tell by the title below that this is going to be kind of a rough subject for me to talk about. I don't have an intro for this because it's just a very personal topic that I honestly never really thought I would put out there. I mean, the people in my life, like in my personal close life, do know about. But what made me want to put this out here for you guys is because I feel like this could help somebody who could be going through something similar, whether it is a parent or a boyfriend, girlfriend, or a friend, teacher, whomever it may be. I feel like this video can reach out to somebody so they know that they do have at least someone that they can talk to that's not in that person's life. But I'm just gonna go ahead and just jump into it. So my mom is not necessarily someone I like to use the word mom for, because yeah, she gave birth to me. Yes, she raised me when I was, a baby into maybe like elementary or so school years. And a lot of you guys probably know this because I kind of touched base on it in my old videos, and the people who I do know personally who are watching right now, you guys know that I lived with my grandma growing up. And it was one of those situations where I'd live with my grandma but then go visit my mom on the weekends. And we lived in an apartment complex. So my grandma was in one apartment and my mom was in another within the same community. And my mom had her own reasoning, working, had to work early, so it only made sense for us to stay with my grandma so she can take us to school and all that. But so my brother and I were living with my grandma and didn't really start living with my mom until I was a freshman in high school, when we moved to the area where my high school was and she bought a house. So it started off fine, it was no big deal because I used to go visit her. But when I would visit her, as a kid, it never felt right. It almost felt like I was in a stranger's home because I didn't really know my mom like that. Not like I didn't know her, but it just was like, oh, I'm not usually sleeping here, so it felt weird. But I'd be there during the day. And so, freshman year was fine, getting good grades, all that. And I'm, new in a brand new school, so I'm trying to make friends and all that. Sophomore year came around, and I think that's when we slowly started to bump heads, just a little bit, just like, parents, like mothers and daughters do, especially when you're a teenager. But I think my mom would take out her own issues personally and psychologically, mentally, whatever, out on me. And it wasn't really right, because when you're in high school, you are starting to develop feelings for like boys, and you're focusing on school and trying to make friends, especially in a new environment. Plus there's cliques and drama, teachers that get on your nerves, all that kind of stuff. So it's just a lot to juggle in your personal life and social life at school. When you come home, you just want to be like, whatever, kind of forget about all that. But it's hard doing that when you don't really have a support system at home. And my grandma ended up moving in with us like my sophomore year, and I think that's when we really started to butt heads. And a lot of people in my family would tell me, and they still do, that my mom's actually jealous of how close my grandma and I are, because my mom resents my grandma ever since she was a little kid, and I still don't really know why. Didn't divorce my grandpa, didn't do this, whatever the reason is, it's her reasoning. And that always bothered me because it's your mom. Like, she was a saint of a mom, saint of a grandma. Like, I love my grandma. She's really the only mother figure I've had in my life growing up. I didn't really have anybody else. So it's hard growing up trying to have that support and love that you really need when you're an adolescent, and it's not there for you. Because when my mom would get upset, she would get upset. and she was verbally abusive, verbally, emotionally, psychologically abusive. And I've read so many studies, I've studied psychology, and I can honestly say that I'm pretty sure she is bipolar and also a sociopath, because she'll manipulate people, she will lie to no extent, she will, like, her lies, she gets so deep in her lies that she forgets what the truth is. And she doesn't really realize who she's talking to or yelling at when she was in, like, she would just go off like that without any reason. Perfect example is one day I was trying to get my prom dress. She saw a picture of me with my dad and my brother. She didn't know he came because she was out of the country on a vacation. She just blew up, and it was ridiculous. And I had to fight back because I'm a very black and white person. I don't take shit from anybody, so I went off on her. Like, so she and I would argue to the point where the whole house or the whole apartment would shake. And it's because of her and her abuse that it has impacted me today. I'm independent, which nothing wrong with that, but it's also really hard for me to open up about my feelings to people. And when I talk about this, and I'm really surprised I'm not right now, when I open up about her and like what she has done to me psychologically and mentally, I end up crying because it's one of those things that I never fully truly got to get out of my system to really talk about it with somebody. I mean, Jimmy knows, but he's just one person, and I mean, I'm grateful I have him to talk to. But I think in like my high school years, you know, before I moved out my senior year, I let her throw her verbal vomit at me because I had my brother, who's 4 years younger than me, in that same house, who's a sweet, sensitive kid who doesn't, I'm not talking bad, but he was like, you know, he's just a kid. He didn't have much of a backbone than I do. I have a stronger, bigger personality than he does. So I was like, you know what? You can go ahead and yell at me all you want. Like, you and I will fight, whatever. But, like, I was trying to protect my brother. I wanted him to be protected from that. He heard it, but it wasn't directed at him, if that made sense. And I have worked on myself, worked on these past issues by myself, and I'm better. I don't have full closure, but I'm better. And I'm sure a lot of you guys, while you're watching, are wondering, well, how are you with your mom now? And I don't talk to her. Last time I talked to her was maybe a year or two ago on WhatsApp, because she's across the country in Turkey somewhere with her husband number 3, and I'm not even getting into that. And with WhatsApp, because, you know, it's like no international data charges. And so I would text her, and I would text her like almost books after books of like going off, and then she hates texting, so she would call me. I would go off on her, and honestly, guys, it would feel like a weight was lifted off of my shoulders after I did that, because I got 4 years of pent-up anger and resentment out. It felt so good, but I still struggle with it because it's hard that, you know, the person that's supposed to love you, support you, and nurture you turns their back on you. I mean, she's basically abandoned my brother and I for husband number 3. She always really neglected us, because if it wasn't for my grandma, Lord knows what would have happened to us. We'd either be dead, homeless, or I would have been a knocked up teenager, had 3 kids by now from 3 different baby daddies. I don't even know. And I tried to have another relationship with her since I'm an adult now, I'm married, I'm more mature than I was in high school. So I'm like, okay, maybe she sees I'm an adult and it would be okay. Well, she didn't. After me going off on her, she still never apologized. She wanted me to apologize for not being the daughter she wanted. And it's hard hearing that, especially during high school whenever we would argue. It's hard constantly hearing from your own mother that she wished she aborted you and wish she never had you, and if she didn't have you, that she would be in Europe in a cafe having coffee and champagne and wine and whatever. It's hard constantly hearing that. It wasn't a one-time thing. I would constantly hear it to the point where it made me question my own self-worth. And no one should ever have to feel that way. And the root of it is their own mother or parent or whomever. And it's hard. And it definitely has impacted my relationships with my friends and all that, because I would just stop trying, because I'm like, okay, well, because, you know, subconsciously you're thinking, okay, well, my own mother who's supposed to love me doesn't really love me. She's a terrible, you know, neglectful person. Why would you, like a stranger who has no blood relation to me, why do you care about me that much? And it was hard to accept that when I, you know, was with Jimmy and seeing how close his family was, because to me that's completely foreign. I don't know what that is. And I'm still working on it. I'm better, but I'm still working on it. And as a young girl in high school and a young adult, you do want your mom. And I'm grateful I have my grandma. I'm grateful I have my stepmom and a lot of mother-like figures that are friends. Like, I'm grateful for all of you guys and all of them. But it's also a little bit different when you did have before a relationship with your mom, and it also kind of went downhill when she met husband number 3. I'm still not getting into that, but that's kind of when it went downhill, because I would call her out. Like, he became her priority and not her kids. So it was back to like the old days where my grandma had to take care of us. And it's hard when the person who's supposed to love you neglects you. And I can tell you this right now, guys, without a doubt, 100%, hand on the Bible, hand to God, bet my life on it, that when I do have kids, she's not gonna know. She doesn't even know I'm here in California. She still thinks I'm in my old place with my grandma. She doesn't know what's going on in my life. I don't want her to know what's going on in my life, because I don't need toxic people in my life. I don't care if they're my mom. I don't care if they're a friend. I don't care. Toxic people is toxic people. No one has to deal with that. And what sucks is I still never got an apology that I deserve. I never got the mother figure I deserved when I needed it. And when I do have kids, they're not gonna know their grandma. And if they ask where she is, I'm gonna eat. I don't know what I'm gonna say. She's dead. I don't know. For all I know, she's dead right now. I don't know. I don't care. I never will care. And I'm sure a lot of you guys that are watching, and those of you who do have kids, are like, oh, when you do have a kid, you'll see the difference. You'll get close to your mom because you need your mom, blah, 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 blah. No, I don't. I basically had to take care of myself in high school. I had to take care of the household. It was because of me that house was running. And I'm not talking about financially. I mean the fact that it was livable. Because I had to maintain it. And with her arguments, like, it was just verbally and psychologically abusive, and I don't wish that on anybody. She would do this to my grandma. I would go off on her for that, because why are you going off on your own mother who's in her 70s? And what my mom never really fully realized in high school is she would blame my grandma for me not coming home, because she gave me the key to her car. So I have all the freedom now because of her, when that wasn't the case. The case was I didn't come home. Car or not, I didn't come home because I didn't want to be near her. And she doesn't seem to realize that. She cannot accept the responsibility as someone who's like 54 years old. She can't accept the responsibility that she has ruined the relationship with her kids. She thinks that we did that. And I cannot be with someone or have someone in my life that is like that, manipulative, can never see their wrongdoing. It's just, even my grandma warned me that whenever I do have a kid, if I did want my mom in my life, not to let her watch my kid alone. That says a lot. And I think the reason I wanted to make this out there is because it's also a way for me to have control over this situation, because I don't want this to define me. Because yes, I don't have a relationship with my mom. So what? I have an awesome grandma who I have a wonderful relationship with. I have a kick-ass stepmom that I love dearly, and a whole bunch of friends that are older than me that are like mother figures that I truly cherish deep down. So I don't think things will ever change with her. I don't think I ever would reach out to her again. And it is what it is. And I just pray that she gets the help that she needs, because she honestly is bipolar and a sociopath, and I really do think and pray that she gets the help that she needs so she doesn't destroy the life of husband number 3. Because it's hard, because from physical, and I know there's other, there's other situations of physically abusive parents, and I get that, but I went through emotional and psychological abuse, and it has made me the person I am today, that I still have to work out on these issues, because it's hard having your own mom saying she wished she aborted you, that she never had you, calls you the devil's child, says, like, throws in your face the things you would say to her in confidence, throws it back in your face, and just makes you feel ashamed of who you are, and ashamed in general. Well, I'm not trying to make this like an hour-long sob story, and I'm really proud of myself for not crying, because I almost did in the first take I did. But you guys can go ahead and comment down below any support, love, prayer, or your stories with your parents, because I know we all have issues with our parents, but this is my story that I want to share with you guys. So I will see you guys next Friday.